Chosen one, there are moments in life that feel too precise to be accidental. A glance at the clock at exactly the right second, a number that follows you from the gas station receipt to the license plate on the car in front of you, to the page number you randomly open to in a book you haven't touched in years. Most people brush these moments aside. They call it coincidence. They call it the brain's pattern recognition tendency. They call it confirmation bias and move on with their coffee and their commute and their comfortable disbelief. But what if the dismissal itself is the mistake? What if the universe has been trying to reach you and you've been hanging up the phone? Today is May 14th, and for those who have been seeing the number 333 with unusual frequency, this date carries weight that goes far beyond the calendar. Because 333 is not a random sequence, it is not a glitch in the matrix or a trick of tired eyes. It is one of the most powerful and widely recognized divine signals in the language of numbers, a language older than any alphabet, older than any scripture, woven into the fabric of reality itself. And if you are reading these words right now, there is a strong possibility that this message was always meant to find you on precisely this day. Let us begin with the number itself, because understanding what 333 actually is will change the way you experience every moment it appears. In the ancient science of numerology, which traces its roots back through Pythagoras, through the Kabbalists, through the mystery schools of Egypt and Babylon, the number 3 holds a singular and sacred place. 3 is the number of creation. It is the Trinity, not just in the Christian sense, but in the universal sense. Mind, body, spirit, past, present, future, birth, life, death. The creative triad appears across every spiritual tradition humanity has ever produced, and it does so because it is encoded into the structure of existence itself. When you triple that number, when you see 3 threes standing side by side, you are not looking at arithmetic. You are looking at amplification. You are looking at the universe turning up the volume on a frequency it has been broadcasting since the beginning of time. 333. Each digit reinforces the others. Each 3 speaks to the same truth from a slightly different angle, and together they form a chord rather than a single note. Numerologists who work with angel numbers, a practice that has gained extraordinary momentum in recent decades as more and more people report seeing repeating sequences at meaningful moments, consistently identify 333 as a signal of divine presence, creative activation, and the alignment of the human being with a higher purpose. But it goes deeper than that. 333 is specifically associated with the Ascended Masters, a term used across various spiritual traditions to describe the great teachers, prophets, and enlightened beings who have walked this earth and transcended it. Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Kuan Yin, Saint Germain, among many others. When 333 appears, the message is that these presences are near, not metaphorically near, not philosophically near. Near in the way that warmth is near when you step into sunlight. The word chosen carries enormous baggage in the modern world. It has been weaponized by ego, misused by narcissism, distorted by those who use spiritual language to elevate themselves above others. But the true meaning of being chosen has nothing to do with superiority. It has everything to do with readiness. A chosen one is not someone who is better than those around them. A chosen one is someone who has been prepared, through suffering, through seeking, through seasons of darkness that most people never have to endure, to carry something forward, to hold a light in a place where light is needed, to become a vessel for something larger than personal ambition or personal comfort. The chosen one is not crowned, the chosen one is called, and the calling rarely sounds like a trumpet. It usually sounds like a whisper in the quiet hours, a number on a clock at 3 in the morning, a pattern that won't stop showing up no matter how many times you try to explain it away. If you have been seeing 333 repeatedly, consider for a moment the context in which it has been appearing. Was it during a period of transition, at the edge of a decision that felt too large to make, in the middle of a grief that had no name, after a conversation that cracked something open inside you? The timing of angel numbers is never incidental. The universe does not spam. When 333 appears, it appears with intention, and the intention is always calibrated to exactly where you are in your journey. It is not a message sent to everyone. It is a message sent to you, in your specific circumstances, at your specific moment of need or readiness or both. May 14th holds its own numerological significance that compounds the power of 333 in a way that feels almost designed. The number 14 reduces in numerology to 5, 1 plus 4, which is the number of change, of freedom, of transformation and movement. May is the 5th month, which doubles that energy of 5, 5 and 5, change layered upon change. And when you place that against the backdrop of 333, what emerges is a convergence, the divine presence of the ascended masters, the creative amplification of 333, and the transformational momentum of 555. This is not a gentle nudge. This is a cosmological shove in the direction of your highest self. There is a quality to the experience of receiving a divine message that is difficult to articulate, but immediately recognizable when it happens. It is not like reading information. It is more like being recognized. Like something in the universe has turned its attention toward you and said, I see you, I know where you have been, I know what you have been carrying, and I am here to tell you that it was not for nothing, that the weight you have been bearing was always preparation, never punishment, that the path you are on, however confusing it has appeared, is not a mistake. This is what 333 communicates when it finds you. It is not a warning, it is not a test. It is an affirmation from the deepest possible source that you are on the right path, and that the support you have been praying for, even silently, even without knowing the words, has been there all along. The relationship between human consciousness and numerical patterns is one of the most fascinating frontiers in both spiritual inquiry and modern psychology. Carl Jung, the great Swiss psychiatrist, spent decades studying what he called synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that could not be explained by conventional causality. He believed and gathered considerable evidence to support the belief that the universe operates according to an acausal connecting principle. In other words, events can be meaningfully connected not because one causes the other, but because they both arise from a deeper pattern that underlies reality. When you see 333 at a moment of personal significance, this is not your mind playing tricks. This is synchronicity in action. This is the acausal web of meaning that Jung spent his life trying to describe, making itself visible to you in a form you cannot ignore. Ancient civilizations understood this intuitively. The Pythagoreans, who founded their entire philosophical system on the properties of numbers, believed that numbers were not invented by human beings but discovered, that they were the language in which the divine mind had written the universe. Plato built his theory of forms in part on Pythagorean foundations. The Kabbalists developed the entire system of gematria, the numerical interpretation of letters and words, on the premise that the divine had encoded meaning into quantity. The Vedic tradition of ancient India produced an entire branch of astronomy and spirituality rooted in numerical cycles. The Mayans developed calendrical systems of staggering mathematical precision in service of spiritual understanding. Across every culture that has ever reached a sufficient level of philosophical sophistication, the same conclusion has been reached. Numbers are not neutral. Numbers are alive with meaning, and 3 is among the most alive of all. In the Christian tradition, 3 is the number of the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and Jesus is said to have risen on the third day. In Hinduism, the Trimurti consists of Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. 3 aspects of divine function that together encompass all of reality. In Celtic tradition, the Triquetra represents the threefold nature of existence. In Norse mythology, the 3 Norns weave the fate of all beings. In Chinese philosophy, the 3 powers are heaven, earth, and humanity. The consistency across cultures that had no contact with one another is not coincidence. It is convergence upon a truth that transcends any single tradition. 3 is how the universe structures itself, and 333 is that structure speaking directly to you. What does 333 actually ask of you, though? Because a divine message without a corresponding invitation is just decoration. The presence of 333 in your life is an activation, and activations require response. The first thing 333 asks is that you stop pretending to be smaller than you are. This may be the most difficult thing it asks, because many of us have learned through years of disappointment or rejection or criticism to make ourselves compact, to fold our gifts into corners where they won't disturb anyone. 333 is the universe telling you that the time for that diminishment is over. Your expansion is not arrogance. Your expression is not vanity. The gifts you have been hiding are not for you alone. They are for everyone who will be touched by them once you have the courage to bring them forward. The second thing 333 asks is that you trust the process you are in, even when, especially when, it makes no visible sense. The ascended masters whose presence 333 announces did not arrive at their enlightenment through a smooth and legible path. Every one of them passed through fire. Every one of them had moments of doubt so profound they bordered on despair. The Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree for 49 days and faced the full assault of his own unresolved fears before the light broke. Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness, Muhammad received his first revelation in a state of such overwhelming intensity that he was certain he was losing his mind. The darkness before the breakthrough is not a sign that the breakthrough isn't coming, it is a sign that it is very close. 333 appears most often at exactly this juncture. The moment just before the turn, when everything still looks like it's falling apart, but the falling apart is actually a falling into place. The third thing 333 asks is that you speak. This is important and often overlooked. The creative energy of 3 is not passive, it is expressive. It requires externalization. Whatever you have been holding inside, the vision, the idea, the truth, the art, the love, the message, 333 is telling you that the time for internal processing has been sufficient and the time for expression has arrived. This might mean having the conversation you have been avoiding. It might mean starting the project you have been researching for 3 years without taking action. It might mean telling someone how you feel, or standing up for something you believe in, or putting your creative work into the world despite the terror of being seen. The ascended masters do not come to comfort you into inaction, they come to embolden you into motion. There is something specific about May 14th that deserves deeper attention. In the cyclical understanding of time that underpins most esoteric and astrological systems, certain dates function as portals, moments when the veil between the ordinary and the sacred is thinner than usual, when intentions set in motion carry unusual power, when the connections between what is visible and what is invisible become more permeable. May sits in the heart of spring in the northern hemisphere, the season that has been associated across virtually every ancient culture with rebirth, renewal, and the return of vital force. The Celts celebrated Beltane at the beginning of May as a festival of fire and fertility, not fertility in the narrow biological sense, but fertility in the broadest sense of creative potential becoming actual. The ancient Romans honored the goddess Maya, for whom the month is named, as a deity of growth and increase. Even in the southern hemisphere, where autumn is arriving, the energy of May 14th carries the quality of harvest, of something reaching its fullness, its completion, its readiness. When you combine this calendrical energy with the appearance of 333, you have a moment that the universe has been building toward. Not a moment of arrival, necessarily. The spiritual path does not work like that, with a single finish line after which everything is resolved, but a moment of recognition, a moment in which something that has been developing beneath the surface of your life for months or years becomes visible to you as what it truly is. Preparation. Everything you have been through has been making you ready for what comes next. The losses taught you discernment, the failures taught you resilience, the loneliness taught you the depth of your own interior, the confusion taught you to listen more carefully, and now, on this day, with 333 appearing in your experience, the universe is acknowledging that the preparation is sufficient. You are ready. The people who ignore divine messages do not ignore them out of stupidity, they ignore them out of fear. Because responding to a divine message means accepting responsibility for your own power, and that is genuinely terrifying. It is far more comfortable to remain in the position of the person to whom nothing special is happening, the person who is just trying to get through the week, the person who doesn't need to worry about larger purposes or callings or missions. The weight of ordinariness is heavy, but it is a familiar weight. The weight of becoming who you are truly meant to be is a different kind of weight. Lighter in some ways, heavier in others, and unfamiliar in a way that the body and ego interpret as danger even when it is actually freedom. 333 will not force you. The ascended masters whose presence it announces respect the sovereignty of your free will absolutely. This message is an invitation, not a command, but the invitation is being extended now, on this day, in this moment, and it will not be extended in exactly this form again. Every moment in which you choose to answer the call is a moment that builds momentum. Every moment in which you choose to look away requires you to begin again from a slightly more depleted place. The universe is infinitely patient, but you are not infinite. You are a specific human being in a specific body in a specific era of history, and the window of your particular opportunity has a shape and a size and edges that are real. 333 is the universe reminding you that you are not meant to waste yourself. You are meant to spend yourself fully and lavishly in the direction of what you were made to do. What were you made to do? This is the question that 333 ultimately points toward, and it is the question that most of us spend our lives circling without quite landing on an answer. The reason we can't land is not that the answer doesn't exist. The reason is that we keep listening for the answer in the wrong register. We listen for it in the language of logic. What do my skills qualify me for? What can I get paid to do? What is realistic given my circumstances? These are not wrong questions, but they are insufficient questions. The deeper question is not what are you capable of doing, but what does your soul insist on doing when everything else has been stripped away? What remains when you remove the fear of failure, the need for approval, the weight of other people's expectations? What is left in the silence after all that noise has been quieted? That remainder, that irreducible core of compulsion and love and recognition, that is what you were made to do. And 333 is the divine confirmation that you already know what it is. You have always known. The vibration of 333 in the body is not imaginary. Those who are energetically sensitive often describe a physical sensation when they encounter this number at a moment of genuine resonance. A warmth in the chest, a tingling along the spine, a sudden expansion in the lungs as if the body is taking its first real breath in hours. This is not suggestion, this is the body's response to truth. The nervous system, which is far more sophisticated than we give it credit for, recognizes alignment the way a tuning fork recognizes its matching frequency. When you see 333 and something in you responds, not with thought but with feeling, not with analysis but with recognition, that response is data. It is the most reliable data you have. It is the universe speaking directly to your cells. There is a teaching that appears across many wisdom traditions in slightly different forms, but its essence is always the same. The divine does not shout. The divine whispers, and it whispers most clearly in the spaces between thoughts, between words, between the busyness that we use to drown out the still small voice. Numbers, appearing at precise moments in the ordinary texture of daily life, are one of the primary languages of that whisper. They appear on clocks and receipts and page numbers and license plates and phone numbers and addresses precisely because these are the surfaces of everyday life, the places where our attention passes constantly without expectation. The extraordinary message delivered through the most ordinary possible medium, that is the signature of divine intelligence, the miraculous hidden inside the mundane, waiting for you to develop the eyes to see it. You have those eyes. You have them or you would not be here. You would not have noticed the 3 Cs. You would not have been drawn to explore their meaning. You would not have felt the low hum of recognition when the subject was raised. The fact that you are paying attention is itself the beginning of the answer. Attention is not passive. Attention is an act of creation. What you attend to, you bring more fully into existence in your experience. By attending to 3 by taking it seriously, by following its thread into the deeper understanding of what it means and what it is asking of you, you are already in motion. You are already responding to the call. The hardest part is not the big dramatic gesture that lies somewhere ahead. The hardest part is exactly this: the willingness to sit still long enough to hear what is being said to you, and the courage to believe that you are worth saying it to. On May 14th, the energy is right, the numbers align, the ascended masters are present, the veil is thin, and somewhere in the pattern of your day, on a clock, on a screen, in a number that appears where you least expect it, 333 will find you again. Not to frighten you, not to demand anything of you, but to remind you of something you have always known and have perhaps temporarily forgotten in the noise and weight and confusion of being human. You are not here by accident. Your life is not a series of random events leading nowhere. You have been called, you have been prepared. You are, in the truest and most humble meaning of the word, chosen, not above others, but among those who are ready. And today of all days is the day to stop pretending otherwise. The universe has been sending this message for longer than you know. In the repetition of 3 across days and weeks and months, it has been patient, it has been persistent, it has returned again and again without diminishment, without frustration, without giving up on you the way you have sometimes given up on yourself. That persistence is itself the message. That is what love looks like when it operates at a cosmic scale. It does not tire, it does not withdraw, it does not decide that you have missed too many cues to be worth reaching anymore. It simply continues, steadily and warmly, to knock. Today on May 14th, with 3 burning its quiet fire in your awareness, perhaps today is the day you open the door.